And we're back at Fox News election headquarters in New York City. As the polls tighten just hours before Election Day, Hillary Clinton is fighting off Donald Trump's late charge. Joining me now is Clinton's top strategist, Joel Benenson. And Joel, welcome back to Fox News
Thanks
Sunday.
for having me, Chris.
As I pointed out to Mike Pence, while they've tightened the race, they're still losing, the Trump side is, but there are some numbers out there that are troubling to your side, and I want to ask you about those. In the latest Fox poll, 71% of Trump voters strongly support him versus 65% of Clinton voters. 63% of Trump supporters are extremely interested in the race. For Clinton, it's 54%. And after news of the FBI investigation, 21% of independents are less likely to vote for Clinton. Joel, there seems to be an enthusiasm gap, and the FBI investigation seems to be hurting Clinton.
No, I think there are a lot of ways to measure enthusiasm. You know, there's also a Washington Post poll, when they've been tracking numbers historically, 56% of Hillary Clinton's voters saying they're voting for her as opposed to against her opponent, kind of on par with people like Al Gore and George Bush, Bill Clinton in '96. That same poll shows Donald Trump at 41%. That is historically and significantly lower than most presidential candidates.
Do you think the FBI announcement, now a week and a half old, has hurt Clinton?
No, I don't. I think it obviously occupied a lot of airspace, but I think, you know, we've been knocking on doors. We have had lines all weekend at our phone banks of people waiting to get in. We've knocked on 2 million doors this weekend, and I think where you're seeing the enthusiasm is in the early vote. Our people are going out to vote where the early vote, you know, is going on. States like Florida, states like Nevada, very strong numbers, and not just with, you know, our base Democratic voters, but we think we're seeing a surge with suburban women, younger people, millennials, broadening our coalition.
Okay. Having said all of that, Clinton has changed her game plan these last few days. I always say the most precious commodity in the last week of a campaign is the candidate's time. She went to Detroit to campaign on Friday, which is somewhat surprising. She's going back there again to Michigan, to Grand Rapids on Monday. You're now running TV ads in Virginia and Colorado and New Mexico. Those were all states that were off the board for Trump 2 weeks ago.
Well, here's going to Michigan, by the way, is very consistent with our plan, because Michigan is one of the states we call game day states. No early voting. We have to make sure we get there in the last few days, keep people ginned up, getting them out to vote, and that's what you're seeing in some of these states. In terms of ads in states like Virginia and Colorado, where we do feel we've got a winning margin there, we've had actually, in the last 2 weeks, a surge of resources. Things have opened up for us. More money's coming in. Our digital fundraising's been great. People are supporting the campaign, and we're going to put those to work, because our job here is every state we make harder for Donald Trump to win makes his path narrower and narrower. We've always wanted to be in a position, Chris, where we're not trying to thread a needle, we're not drawing to an inside straight, and so we're playing offense in all of our states.
Well, let's talk about that, because you heard me ask Mike Pence, sure, how does he get over the top? And let's go up to the data deck up on the second floor here in our election headquarters, where Bill Hemmer is standing by to show us a possible Trump path to 270, and then Joe will come back and talk to you on the other side.
Chris, hello, and it's the mezzanine level, and we've supersized the billboard this year for 2016. You see all the states in gray on the map. Those are the states where it's too close to call, the battleground states that we believe as of today that's where the election stands. Go back 4 years ago when Mitt Romney lost to Barack Obama. Romney flipped 2 states that year. He made Indiana Republican again, so too in North Carolina. If you assume that Trump, at a minimum, has to hold all the Romney states, this is what it could look like. 16 electoral votes in Georgia. It's 11 in Arizona. It's 15 in North Carolina. And late on Friday, the Trump team tells me they feel very good about where they are in North Carolina. More on that in a moment. He'd have to flip the 6 in Iowa. He'd have to flip 18 in Ohio, 29 in Florida, and still under this scenario, he is 11 electoral votes short. So where does he go? If he were to win Pennsylvania, that would make him president. If he were to win Michigan, that would make him president. If he were to win a combination of, say, New Hampshire and Colorado, that would do it. Or New Hampshire and perhaps Nevada would get him very close at 269 under that particular map. However, if the Clinton team finds success on the East Coast, maybe in a Florida, which could be deadly for the Trump team, or possibly turning North Carolina blue again, you start to see the challenge for Trump as he drops down to 244 electoral votes. That means under that scenario, he would have to win Pennsylvania and somewhere else. He would have to win in Michigan and somewhere else. 2 states, by the way, that have not gone Republican in 28 years. The point is, on all this, there's a number of different options that you can map out and game for Tuesday night. Trump, it's not impossible. He has a number of ways that he can do it, but it's much more difficult. As it stands today, Chris, it is much easier for Hillary Clinton based on the map that we're watching. Back to you.
Bill, thank you. Well, you heard about possible paths, and all of them are difficult. He's kind of, you talked about the political equivalent of drawing to the inside straight. He kind of has to do it. Where are the big kinks in that scenario?
In his scenario?
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. Starts with Pennsylvania, number 1. Pennsylvania is a strong state for us. We're going to be spending time there, as Bill pointed out, solidly Democratic for 6 elections or so. Because if he doesn't win there, he has to win all 4 of the big other states that Bill just talked about: Ohio, Florida, North Carolina, Michigan. He's not in a position to win all 4 of those. He just isn't. I think that some of these are close, no question about it. He, I think, described the scenario I did. Is, you know, it's not over till the fat lady sings, as they say, right? And but we're going into Election Day playing offense, keeping them on defense with states like Arizona that we never played in before, not in either of the Obama elections. So we feel good when we're on offense. We think we're in good shape, and I think it's because voters around the country are really rejecting the divisive rhetoric that they've heard from Donald Trump throughout this campaign.
Okay. That is the concern for Trump. The concern for the Clinton camp is the honesty and trustworthiness factor, and obviously the renewed FBI investigation is an issue, and I want to discuss that with you for a moment. Back in March of 2015, Hillary Clinton told the country that she had turned over all of her work-related emails to the State Department. Here she is.
I responded right away and provided all my emails that could possibly be work-related, which totaled roughly 55,000 printed pages.
But the week before, a Clinton advisor sent out this email: if there is a release of the 55,000, are there others that are not being released? And here was your answer, Joel: definitely. Now, Clinton...
Actually, Chris, the definitely wasn't to that. There's a string of emails there, and it was saying to the previous email that we should release all the emails. I was saying definitely. There was an interspersed email in there. I was responding to the previous one that said definitely.
Well, why didn't they release all the emails?
Well, I think they released all the ones they believed they had at the time. I think during the course of the process, and Director Comey said there may be some others, and if there are, they'll find them and be turned over. But let me go back to your fundamental question here. You raised the question of trust, and I apologize for bringing up a Washington Post ABC poll, but they asked which one of these 2 people has stronger moral character. And by 46 to 38 voters, an 8-point spread,
well, as you know,
Hillary Clinton was perceived.
It depends on the question that's asked.
Well, it was. But stronger moral character is a pretty standard test for President of the United States as well. And I think people are looking at these 2 people, and we have an 8-point advantage there. And people are looking at this through the prism of who are these 2 people? What have they both done in their lives that will make me count on them?
Okay,
trust them,
I got that. But I want to
me?
ask you a question about the emails, because...
Because you've never asked me before. No, go ahead.
Well, I haven't asked you often about the emails. The argument that she made, and that the campaign has made, that all of the deleted emails were personal. They were about her yoga, about Chelsea's wedding. Question I have for you is, were emails about the Clinton Foundation considered personal, and were they deleted?
Chris, I'm not sure how they were considered. What I know is that who's ever looking at all the emails has been looking at it for years, 15 months, almost a year and a half now, right? They've said they're going to look at any other emails that come up and let them make a judgment. When Director Comey spoke, he had no access to other emails. He hasn't seen them. He went out on a limb. He's been criticized by both Democratic and Republican former law enforcement officials who said this was inappropriate to do at this point, particularly when he had no facts and no information. Look, I think that voters are going to go to the polls 2 days from now. They're going to factor all this information in. They're going to make the decision on which one of these people will really make America the kind of country they want to have.
Okay, one last question. In February of 2015, there were reports that foreign donations to the Clinton Foundation were on the rise, and that resulted in a string of emails again that I want to talk about. Here was your recommendation about foreign government donations to the Clinton Foundation. Stop taking foreign government money. Is that possible? If not, we're going to be very vulnerable on that throughout. And I think our opponents and some on our side will say it is unseemly for a potential U.S. president taking money from foreign governments for her private foundation. Joel, you knew this was a problem, but as we sit here today, the Clinton Foundation continues to take money from foreign governments.
Well, two things. One, I'm not going to authenticate any of these emails that we know are hacked through Russian interference.
Okay.
What the Clintons have said is they have announced the steps they will take if Hillary Clinton is elected president. They are very clear.
You were saying this in 2015.
Foundation,
why not?
Because this foundation helps millions of people around the world. President Clinton has put to work at that foundation what he learned as president with 11 million people on life-saving AIDS drugs.
So you don't think it's unseemly?
I think that the Clintons have announced what steps they would take if she is elected on Tuesday, which I believe she will be, about the steps they will take to change the way the foundation will operate if she's president of the United States. What they don't want to happen is for millions of people who are being saved with life-saving drugs, kids getting better food in schools.
But that was still true. That was still true in 2015, and you called it unseemly.
Well, I said I'm not going to authenticate any of these emails that were hacked by Russians. I'm going to talk about what the foundation has done and how they've addressed what they will do going forward.
Joel, thank you. Thanks for coming in today. Always good to talk with you.
Good to see you, Chris.